everyone, I'm Dazzling One. I was recently asked if I could do a video on fraternities and sororities and their link to Satanism, which is a very great topic to discuss. As a college student, although I'm currently attending a community college, I know a lot of people who are members and a part of a chapter at various universities, and every time I log into Facebook, my feed is filled with people who I went to high school with, and their pictures of their Greek life. I remember as a junior having high hopes of attending a certain university. I even considered joining a sorority myself, thinking about the opportunities it would present and the doors that it could open, being a first-generation college student with no connections. To make a long story short, I ended up not attending the college I had planned, and although at the time it made very little sense, I'm glad that I did, because I ended up taking a year off reevaluating what I wanted to do in life and doing some research, and here I am talking to you. Point is, if you have considered joining one or have, I'm not condemning you. They do seem like great ideals. When people talk about all of the opportunities they could present and all of the friends and connections that you could have, especially in this competitive world of trying to find a career, sadly, it really is too many times not what you know, but who you know. I know during this presentation someone will probably eventually say that they or someone they know is a Christian and is a part of one or involved in one, or will point out all of the charitable contributions that they have made to society. I just want to say that Freemasons also make major contributions as well. And most Freemasons in general do not know exactly what they're even a part of. And I'll get into that a little later, but just because someone gives a charity doesn't necessarily make them a decent person. But I'm not knocking those who do. I think charity is a good ideal. Most sororities or fraternities are huge philanthropists, and usually each chapter is devoted to an organization, whether it's Make-A-Wish Foundation, Wounded Warriors Project, Breast Cancer Awareness, or etc. So once again, this isn't a rip on people who are part of one. I'm only going to give the facts about the origin. You or whoever you know at the end can take it to God and decide for yourself. I'm not trying to be vulgar, but I can remember once a guy telling me my senior year, when I'd ask him, would you ever consider joining a fraternity? And he said I'd be their B word for the first year, which, send him for a female dog. I can see where he's coming from, especially with all the horror stories of hazing, although they claim that they've done away with it at most universities, or that it's exaggerated. Before I get into the potential satanic connection, I want to discuss the history of sororities and fraternities. The first fraternity was established in 1776, and it was Phi Beta Kappa at the College of William and Mary. The ideal behind it was so students could discuss controversial subjects like taxation and freedom. Their motto was, "Philosophy is the guide of life." On December of 1779, a chapter was established at Yale and Harvard. William Morgan, a former Freemason who threatened to expose secrets of the Masonic fraternity, had a huge role to play in it. Fraternities, according to Fritz Springmeier, were modeled after Freemasonry. The Civil War interrupted most fraternity operations, and as Americans chose sides in the United States' most devastating war, fraternity brothers often found themselves pitted against one another. Fraternity bonds, however, often accounted for many prisoners being exchanged or given better treatment. Only one fraternity was founded during this time, Theta Xi, at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Alpha Delta Phi was the first sorority established May 15th of 1851. There are three first among women's fraternities, founded as the Adelphian Society in 1851. Pi Beta Phi came into being in 1867 as the first organization of college women established as a national college fraternity. Kappa Alpha Theta was organized in January 1870 as the first Greek letter society for women. While there were scattered cases of women elected to men's fraternities, it early became evident that there was a distinct field for similar organizations for women. For many years, in schools for young women, societies bearing Greek or classical names were common, such as Adelphian, already named, Euterpian, and Philomathian. These became founding chapters of national bodies and claimed precedence by virtue of the initial dates of their local organizations. I'll have the Greek alphabet on the screen so you can look at it, but most of you are probably well aware of this, but most sororities and fraternities, they use the Greek alphabet in their names. A theory, according to a site I came across in doing research, which Hollywood Agenda, some of these letters are codes such as beta for beta programming or sex kitting programming. Generally, when a guy or girl considers joining a sorority or fraternity, they have an option of meeting with a recruitment counselor, but will have to attend a rush. These people are known as rushees. A rush is nothing more than a recruitment. This is a time for an individual to present themselves, sometimes formal, depending on the university, sometimes informal. They get a chance to meet members from the sororities, fraternities they are thinking about joining, and perform skits, sing songs, and share personal stories, basically socialize. And this is done in a series of rounds. This gives a chance for the other girls in the sorority or guys in the fraternity to see if they're a right fit. At a large university, chances are they're not going to get to meet every member of the chapter. So most likely they're going to be judged on appearance. At the end, there is a bid day, in which the rushee has an opportunity to express interest in which sorority or fraternity they are interested in. After the rush, the members of that particular sorority or fraternity convene and decide on extending a bid or invitation for those considering pledging their organization. Most organizations have a primary goal. They are divided into categories of honor-oriented, professionally-oriented, service-oriented, culturally-oriented. Afterwards, a letter of invitation, also known as a bid, is sent out to those who are accepted. The next step is pledging, or as some put it, new member education. During this time, they learn more about the organization, traditions, and values. At the end, they are admitted in through initiation, and this is where the rumors of hazing come in. Although most Greek-lettered organizations will tell you that they have done away with it, I sort of doubt that. A lot of horror stories of people having to act out like slaves and participate in sexual acts. In my opinion, the fact that people have to go through initiation and hazing, which they have no clue what is going to happen, qualifies it in some way as a secret society of sorts. Some hazing nightmare stories that I came across on the internet that I'll read for you from the website bustle.com, and I'll provide the link in the description box. Number 1, at the University of California, Berkeley. In 2012, Brittany Starling decided to sue Zeta Phi Beta sorority after what allegedly happened to her during Pledge Week. Starling claimed she was forced to clean up juice from the floor using her back and act as a trash can for the other girls, taking whatever garbage they had and carrying it in her pockets. Based on her account, it went beyond humiliation. Though Starling claimed things reached a physical level when she and the other pledges were forced to stay awake all night without being permitted to use the bathroom. They were allegedly forced to stand for hours, and when Starling's legs gave out, she claimed a member hit her ankle with a book, injuring her severely. The emotional and physical trauma eventually culminated in Starling's decision to leave the school. Neither the school nor the sorority made an official statement about this incident, but their Panhellenic Council website says such behavior is forbidden and classifies hazing as events or activities. They may produce mental or physical discomfort, embarrassment, harassment, or ridicule. It's worth noting that the college no longer recognizes Zeta Phi Beta as an official Greek chapter. Number 2, Penn State, Altoona. In 2008, sorority pledge Joanne, who didn't wish to share her last name, told ABC News she was forced to stand with her nose against a concrete wall during rush. She said if she or the other pledges moved at all, they had their heads slammed into the brick. Joanne also allegedly had to clean a floor with her fingernails and drink what she described as pitch black water. The college website, they have a strict anti-hazing policy, which it violated may result in the imposition of fines, the withholding of diplomas or transcripts pending compliance with the rules of pending payment of fines, and the imposition of probation, suspension, or dismissal. The Penn State Altoona College newspaper reached out to the campus sororities following Joanne's accusations. Several members, including Lindsay Jordan, president of Alpha Sigma Tau sorority, declined to comment on issues of hazing, but president of Gamma Phi Beta sorority, Alyssa Pulley, said, "I was beyond shocked because that was during the time of my pledging period. Luckily, those things that were said did not happen to me or any of my pledged sisters." Number 3, at Rutgers University. In 2010, a student pledging this New Jersey school's Sigma Gamma Rho sorority landed in the hospital after allegedly being beaten with paddles. The injured student pressed charges and 6 girls were arrested. The sorority staunchly voiced their innocence, claiming no such thing ever happened. In response to the event, Rutgers suspended their chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho, and so did the sorority's national organization. A Rutgers student who was friends with the girls in the sorority was interviewed by ABC News following the event. She said, "People are just more upset that this girl ratted. Some people actually found out who the girl was that ratted, and she will probably be shunned now. They probably won't talk to her at Greek events or anything." Number 4, at Binghamton University. In 2012, allegedly hazing at this New York school came to light when students claimed that sorority sisters allegedly threw pledges into a freezing shower while they recited the Greek alphabet, fed them pills to make them vomit on one another, and forced them to hold hot hookah coals in their hands. In response to receiving anonymous reports, the school shut the Greek system to investigate the allegations and develop a better plan for student safety. After an intensive 5-month review period, the school reinstated the chapter after drafting up a new set of guidelines for them to follow. The rules focused on improved communication between the members of Greek life and the divisions of student affairs. Number 5, California State University, Los Angeles. In 2002, hazing allegedly turned deadly for students Kristen High and Kennetha Saphir. A lawsuit filed after their deaths claimed that while the women were pledging Alpha Kappa Alpha, they were required to do hours of exercise and then walk backwards into the ocean. When a wave swept Saphir out to sea, High swam after to help, knowing Saphir couldn't swim. The rough waves drowned both girls. After the event, details emerged that Alpha Kappa Sigma was not sanctioned by the college, and spokesperson for CSU said the school had not even recognized an AKA chapter since 1989, a fact confirmed by the sorority's national headquarters. Number 6, Young Harris College. The Georgia school came under fire last year when Johanna Birch, who was pledging Gamma Psi, spilled some dirty hazing details. She claims pledges were taken to a nearby woods where they were forced to crawl through the mud into a freezing creek while being screamed at and spit upon. Further investigation reportedly revealed other forms of pledging torture. Pledges were allegedly forced to stand in a pool of water that the sorority members had defecated in, and to sit naked on a washing machine while any body part that jiggled was circled with a Sharpie pen. Birch opened up about this experience to the student newspaper advisor, Teresa Crapanzano, who, together with another professor, Joseph Terry, worked to get the school to do something about the hazing. Crapanzano began writing an article of which the school refused to allow publication about the events, and interviewed other students about their alleged hazing experience. Both professors held faculty meetings to discuss the school's lack of a disciplinary policy on hazing. The professors were subsequently fired, and they and Birch then sued the college. YHC spokesman Jay Stronman told Jezebel many of the student reports were false and outrageous. Number 7, Union College. In September of 2013, Tess Coleman told Cosmopolitan about the emotional abuse allegedly inflicted on her and her pledges in her pledge class during hazing. According to her account, 42 pledges were locked in a basement with only one toilet to use. She also claimed they were frequently asked to line up while the older members would ask them questions and scold them for incorrect answers, calling them stupid. She said sample questions include who is the prettiest sister in the room, and which one of us is a lesbian, and why do you think that? After her article came out, Union College responded by asking Komen Sigma Delta Tau sorority to put its fall pledging activities on hold. We don't tolerate hazing at Union College, spokesman Philip Waja told BuzzFeed. The column referenced incidents that allegedly took place 3 years ago, and we are working with the national chapter of Sigma Delta Tau to review the claims. Number 8 at Dartmouth. 2009 Dartmouth grad Ravitul Segal rushed Kappa Kappa Gamma, and in 2012 gave this account of her alleged hazing experience. I was blindfolded with two of my fellow pledges. We were guided to the back seat of a car, and one of our future sisters commanded us to chug the alcoholic punch that had been pre-prepared for each of us in individual 64-ounce water bottles. Simultaneously, I was handed numerous vodka shots from the older sisters sitting in the front seat. After what couldn't have been more than 15-minute drive, I was told to get out of the car. I did. But then I lost all consciousness. I woke up the following morning in the intensive care unit at Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. I later learned that 3 other girls had also been admitted, each having overdosed on alcohol due to hazing rituals. 2 were fellow pledges, and 1 was pledging another sorority, Sigma Delta. I had bruises and cuts all over my body. 2 of my teeth were broken, and I was intubated and restrained. The doctor informed me that I had entered the hospital with a .399 blood alcohol content. I soon learned that a .4 BAC is coma, and death was literally 1 sip of alcohol away from dying. Siegel admits that even after this incident, she was loath to blame the sorority or even call the event hazing. Nobody had forced me to drink, Segal said, but she also admitted the real reason she didn't point fingers. She didn't want to incur the social ostracism that would surely follow. When stories like Segal's came to light, many suggested that Dartmouth overhaul the Greek system to prevent further hazing attempts. University President Jim Yong Kim responded, saying, in places where they've gotten rid of Greek systems, it has quickly formed off campus, unofficially. Then they begin to drive and drink, and the level of danger just goes up. He also spoke of how difficult it can be for the school to know of this kind of behavior. The whole point of hazing is to do it out of the view of administrators and people of power. It's just so hard. Professors and people outside the schools alike were frustrated with Kim's weak response to serious allegations, but he maintained that he didn't plan to change the fraternity and sorority system. One of the things you learn as an anthropologist, he said, you don't come in and change the culture. Shortly after these allegations flooded his office, he resigned the university position when Barack Obama named him president of the World Bank. After the publication of this article, John Kramer, Dartmouth's associate director for media relations, sent a statement to Bustle saying, high-risk behaviors such as drinking, sexual assault, and hazing are problems on campuses across the country and have at times linked to Dartmouth. It's important that you know we take these problems seriously and are taking action to combat them. Number 9, Tennessee. The University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. In 2009, Jasmine Johnson was sent to the hospital after allegedly suffering injuries while rushing Delta Sigma Theta. Johnson says she was punched in the face while vinegar was squirted in her eyes and ice-cold water was poured over her head. On another occasion, she claims eggs were smashed on her body while she was punched in the head and stomach, resulting in a concussion and vaginal bleeding. Sorority sister Sierra Smith was charged with assault and arrested after the incident hospitalized Johnson. UT spokesman Chuck Cantrell said in response to the allegations, the school placed a hold Delta Sigma Theta's ability to continue meeting on conducting business. The dean of the student's office placed the chapter under a cease and desist order, meaning it is suspended from all activities, he said. Our chapter has a zero-tolerance policy toward hazing. We take reports of hazing very seriously, and we will take all appropriate measures and disciplinary actions to ensure the safety of our students and punish those who break these laws. And number 10, Anonymous Schools. Alexandra Robbins, author of the book Pledge, The Secret Life of Sororities, explored the hazing practices at a number of universities in 2005. She doesn't name the specific schools in question, but the practices she cited are horrific. One example was a girl named Erica, whose pledge class had to answer trivia questions and drink straight vodka. When they got a question wrong, Robbins wrote they were also presented with a Sharpie, a knife, a hammer, and a dildo, and the sisters said if they got enough wrong, they would be violated with one of those four. Though some schools are aiming to crack down on this type of behavior, with schools like Binghamton banning all recruiting practices, dangerous hazing rituals will continue to go unpunished if they stay secret. What happens during rush shouldn't remain a secret. If it's life-threatening, humiliating, or illegal, only awareness can bring an end to the issue. And that is the end of the article. Another thing to consider, when people join a sorority or fraternity, they have to pay a membership fee. And it is estimated for an incoming freshman in the fall, it is $1,570. Some critics poke fun at this and say they are paying for friends. Also, with Greek-lettered organizations, a lot of times they are racially based, mainly because before everything was segregated. So whenever other races could start getting educations, then blacks, Hispanics, Asians began to create their own universities, because there's even historically black universities. And the name of the national organizations are National Pan-Hellenic Council, National Association of Latino Fraternal Organizations, National APIA Pan-Hellenic Association, National Multicultural Greek Council, United Council of Christian Fraternities and Sororities, Concilio Interfraternitario de Puerto Rico, other national fraternities. And some of the more notorious ones that people often talk about are Skullenbones, which, if you've seen any video on it, you'll know that the Bush family, both George Bush Sr. and his son, were a part of Skullenbones. And a lot of speculation is that they funded World War II, and there's all these crazy stories that one of the things they did, I think, for hazing was lay in a casket and masturbate. I don't know how true any of that it really is. And then kind of the black form of Skullenbones is Boule, which many of the most important 1% of the black community are part of that. Well, for men, of course, because it's a fraternity. And it's kind of sad because these same people, they set them up to head things like to join like in civil rights and the NAACP and pretend like they're helping the black community when in reality they're not doing a thing, but just talking and running their mouth. And then another one is the Order of the Eastern Star, which is open to, I believe, to men and women. It's not necessarily like a college fraternity, but people can join. And I don't know too much about it, but just the name itself gives it away, and it's once again more ISIS worship. The thing that truly makes these organizations satanic per se is their roots, which we know that the first fraternities were started by Freemasons. Everything has a root. If you don't get a weed by its root, it grows back again. Basic gardening tips. Well, here's the thing. It's not just that its roots are bad. When you pledge to different gods or goddess, depending on the sect. For some, it may be Minerva. Others, and it could be others as well. Also, a lot of times you have to do chants, and even if you see these chants as pointless and mindless, still you're chanting and still you're invoking. Most initiations are satanic in nature, like wearing robes, having candles, and other things. if you just came in on some of them. You might even think that you're watching a scene out of a satanic horror movie. Also, after pledging, new members are given line names because they are part of lines or groups that is being initiated. Most likely, the majority of the members will never be recruited. When I mean recruited, I mean that generally the Illuminati, the bloodlines, the elite, they a lot of times have their people join these fraternities and sororities. Generally, they're more not prominent, but they're more can't think of the word right now. You know, it's like Skullenbones and Belay, something that the average Joe can't get into. But say that they're in an average one, they're generally at the top, and the other people, they're kind of, you know, they're more towards the bottom. But it also shows because these people join the fraternity or sorority, they paid for it, they follow orders, they pass the test, and if they're getting high grades, which there is a GPA minimum to join, it shows that they could potentially make a good puppet, Illuminati puppet. In the spring, there is something called Greek Week, which deals with a lot of community service. And sometimes they have pageants hosted depending on the school, and people are named like Miss Goddess or Miss God, which even if you see it as fun, it is idolatry, because one of the commandments, the first commandment actually says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." And the other thing they're known for that Hollywood loves to blow up is the partying, or they call them mixers. And a lot of times they have inappropriate themes to them. And of course, lastly, like I said before, many participate in philanthropy. I know it wasn't a whole lot of information per se. It's one of those things that some people might call gray. It's not like it says exactly in the Bible that you can't join a Greek lettered organization, but just knowing its roots, that it's linked to God and goddesses, and I would never pledge to something because you made an oath with it, whether you know it or not. However, it's not necessarily satanic. Most people that are part of these, they don't even have that in mind. They just want to join it because they want to make connections, or they have friends in it, and they don't really think of it like that. And I don't think most of them go with the heart, oh my god, I'm going to worship Satan. It's not like that. But personally, I would stay away from it. I wouldn't involve myself in it knowing what I know. But I hope you found this information useful and enjoyed the video. Please pass it along and share it. If you have any comments or questions you'd like to share, feel free to do so in the comment section below, or message me on here, Facebook or Twitter. Thank you for watching, and God bless. Have a wonderful week.